This is going to sound completely mad, but a house is falling off the cliff. I mean, seriously, right in front of my eyes. It's up on the headland on Pine Ridge Road, the highest residential spot in town. The highest prices, too. Exclusive, swanky, famous Pine Ridge Road. Because if you didn't know it before this summer, you definitely will now, and that's partly down to yours truly. Robbie Jevons is the South Coast rock star of Zoomer activism. The Guardian, no less. So anyway, this house is literally sliding out from behind a tall green hedge and heading for the cliff edge, and the crazy thing is, I'm the only one who seems to be seeing it. I'm on my own in the dunes behind the stage, the beach to my left, village to my right, the headland a way off but in my direct line of sight. Everyone else has their backs to it as they watch the band. 1,000 people or more, all with these blissed-out looks on their faces like they're in the presence of, I don't know, Harry Styles or someone, not some random act from Weymouth doing old rock covers. Smoke on the Water, I mean, come on.
Look, she sent me a pic. Perry passed her his phone. Well, that looks familiar, Charlotte said, studying the chalet-style edifice with its wraparound veranda and sloping slate roof. I know. Wait for this. She's going to call it The Niche. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, I suppose. Charlotte was untroubled by this. 8 years older than Amy, she had been happy with the tone set early and naturally in their warm, frank friendship. She shared her wisdom, and Amy received it. It would be churlish to resent her acting on it. In any case, the Shaw's new garden room could not be exactly like theirs, because the nook was a vintage treasure, a one-off salvaged from an estate in Sussex and restored by specialist craftsmen.
Of all the trepidations that a lifetime of Monday mornings had flung in her path, none quite matched this one. Ideally, she'd have waited for Beatty to emerge from her room of her own accord, but the paddleboarding lesson was only an hour long, and she didn't want to risk it. As soon as Linus and Huck left, she made 2 oat flat whites and knocked on her daughter's door. "Beatty?" She was stretched out on top of her duvet in pale blue cotton pyjamas. On her phone, of course. Every hour spent on a screen took 13 minutes off your night's sleep, Amy had read. But tell that to the digital natives. At least she looked her age, first thing in the morning, makeup removed on little reusable pads she left lying around the bathroom. It had been hard at dinner last night to watch her, in her little dress, lips pouting, eyes glittering, drawing glances from all the men. She'd wanted to hustle her aside and say, "Who are you, you siren, and what have you done with my daughter?" "I brought you a coffee." Beatty reached to take the cup. "Hey, thanks. Do you have a minute? I wanted to have a chat." Instantly the girl's gaze darkened. She made no attempt to help, as Amy cast about for somewhere to perch. The only available chair was heaped with clothes, and so Amy transferred these to the foot of the bed and sat on it. Beatty took a sip of her coffee before speaking in a husky drawl. "Seriously, whatever you want to say, I've already covered it in PSHE.
She recognised him straight away, the dude from the caravan site. So he worked at the beach bar. That was a nice surprise, since she planned on hanging here on a daily basis. There was nothing else to do, after all. Staying up at the bungalow only got her roped into cleaning or helping her brother with some science project he would never have bothered with if their mum hadn't been totally fixated and constantly threatening to get him a tutor. Queuing, she thought how much hotter he was than she remembered. A total snack. Not super tall, but an inch or two more than her 5'9", with wide-set dark eyes, straight brows, a mouth that curled at the corners. He looked just like that singer from a million years ago who got screwed over by his creepy manager and they just made a movie about it. Elvis, that was it.
"Thought you'd be sat outside," Ellie said, entering the caravan's bedroom, or, more accurately, hovering in the doorway about 6 inches from the only piece of furniture, a mattress enclosed on 3 sides and plonked on top of a set of drawers that provided their main storage. "I was gaming." The console was on the duvet next to him. He'd been, for the last half hour, catatonic, just staring at the ceiling. Right. She leaned across and flung open the curtains, her face creased with disapproval, as if it were a crime to close them, as if she were his mother, not his lover. It got hot, he said, blinking. For a few hours a day, you had the double whammy of the sun beating down on the aluminium roof and streaming through thin windows, and it was all you could do not to bake like a spud. Then go out, she snapped. It smells rank in here. He eyed his girlfriend with wariness. Somewhere, beneath the almost nun-like severity of the high-necked overalls and pinned hair required by her employer, was the girl with sexy raven hair and wild eyes he'd lusted after and pursued the previous summer, who'd wanted only to please him. None of this moaning and criticising.
Perry thought for the 1000th time how strange it was that people should object to success. Yes, envy was natural, but emotions, or deadly sins aside, didn't people know that it was the taxes paid by the successful that funded the services they took for granted? And by successful, he did not mean the super-rich. Everyone knew they were tax evaders, registered in the Bahamas or Luxembourg or whatever. No, the middle classes, paying more than half their earnings to the government and getting diddly squat in return. Just a load of abuse. Obviously, people didn't know. Let's face it, there wasn't a great deal of understanding of economics in this country. It wasn't a compulsory subject in schools. Young people like these passata-throwing, graffiti-spattering vandals thought money grew on trees. They thought they could put nothing in and yet take out whatever they needed. Well, one thing was for sure. If Comrade Tabitha did sign her name to any of this anti-holiday home stuff, she'd be out of Hotel Cliffview on her ear, no matter how in lust Benedict was.